Hey everyone, and welcome to our series on the Daily Stoic. January 5th. Clarify your intentions. Today's passage comes from Seneca, on tranquility of mind. Let all your efforts be directed to something. Let it keep that end in view. It's not activity that disturbs people, but false conceptions of things that drive them mad. Law 29 of the 48 Laws of Power is plan all the way to the end. Robert Greene writes, "By planning to the end, you will not be overwhelmed by criticisms, and you will know when to stop. Gently guide fortune and help determine the future by thinking far ahead." This sentiment is echoed by Stephen Covey. The second habit in the 7 habits of highly effective people is begin with an end in mind. All of these authors are telling us, don't start until you figure out where you're going to finish. Now, having an end in mind is no guarantee that you'll reach it. No Stoic would tolerate that assumption. But not having an end in mind is a guarantee you won't. To the Stoics, false conceptions are responsible not just for disturbances in the soul, but for chaotic and dysfunctional lives and operations. When your efforts are not directed at a cause or a purpose, how will you know what to do day in and day out? How will you know what to say no to and what to say yes to? How will you know when you've had enough, when you've reached your goal, when you've gotten off track, if you've never defined what those things are? The answer is, you cannot. And so you're driven into failure, or worse, into madness, by the oblivion of directionlessness. Ask yourself this: when does a builder start construction on a house? A builder only starts after he's finished. He finishes it in his mind before he begins it in reality. He sees a building finalized in his head and then on paper. And finally, he begins. Try to think of today's passage like you would a road trip. You need a philosophy, right? You have to know where you want to go. You need an approach. This is the route that you're going to take, your map or GPS. The techniques that you're going to use, right? Think of that as your delivery vehicle, a car, SUV, truck, and actions. This is how you drive your day-to-day activities. I try to put this practice into play every day of my life. I'm a teacher, and my philosophy is to get students speaking well. I want them to master the spoken word. I want to improve their oracy. Right? So everything that I do in my classroom is geared towards that end. I've got approaches, techniques, and actions that I can use to help build those skills. So along the way, sometimes I have great successes, other times terrible failures, but I know what I'm trying to get accomplished. And when I have that end goal in mind, I can judge myself based on a certain criteria. Whether I've achieved that goal or I've missed the mark, I know what I was aiming at. So I have a much better way to evaluate, repurpose, reorganize, and then try again. So if I want to teach my students or children how to speak better, I know that I need to use conversation-based learning. I know that I need to present them with the skills necessary to speak well. The same for you. Whatever your philosophy is, make sure that your approaches to life, the techniques that you use every day, and the actions that you take moment to moment, all work towards that philosophy. And if you do so, I guarantee that while you may not hit the mark every time, you'll at least be in the right general direction. Cheers. As always, this passage comes from The Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, an amazing book that I can't recommend strongly enough.